Niki Terpstra was a rider who managed to complete the incredible feat of winning both Paris Roubaix and the Tour of Flanders, but despite being an all-conquering classic rider, since his move away from Quick-Step, he disappeared from the front end of pro cycling, vanishing into the background until his retirement in 2022. So what the fuck happened to the Netherlands' strongest cobble rider of a generation? Niki Terpstra turned pro with the third division team cycling team Bert Story Peels in 2004, and he was also very prominent in his early days in the national track championships in the Netherlands. He was even part of the incredible Team Pursuit team of the Netherlands that managed to win silver at the 2005 UCI Track World Championships. 2005 was also the year he managed to grab the victory at the Omloop Kempen. Before the following year, in 2006, Terpstra managed to win several races, including stage 4 of the Tour of Belgium, and this attracted the attention of bigger teams, and consequently, for the 2007 season, he signed with the German giant Tim Milram. His opening season at the top level of cycling was not as fruitful as desired, with the biggest accolade being a win in the mountain classification in the team's home race of the Deutschland Tour and a third place finish as well at the Hetwald Mergeland. However, the following season, Terpstra improved as he managed to finish 4th at the 3 days of Japan, 3rd overall in the Bayern-Rundfahrt stage race, but crucially, he was also 14th in the 2008 edition of the Ronde van Vlaanderen. He also managed to finish 12th in Dwars door Vlaanderen. This was really the early indications of the potential that the Dutchman had in the cobble classics. Terpstra even went to his first Tour de France that year as well and managed to win the Combativity Award on stage 15 after his exploits. In 2009, Terpstra's development in the classics continued despite not finishing the Tour of Flanders because of crashes. He still earlier in the season managed to finish 9th in Omloop Het Nieuwsblad, and yet his highlight of the season was not this. It came later when he went on to win the 3rd stage in the Criterium du Dauphiné Libre, gaining the yellow jersey as well at the same time, keeping it for a day and propelling his profile into the consciousness of many cycling fans across the world. His 2010 season was notable as this marked his first senior national championship win as he won the road race, but earlier in the year he had also managed to finish on the podium in Dwars door Vlaanderen as well as winning the German race Sparkassen Giro Bochum, which is not bad to say the least. These results garnered interest from one of the biggest teams in the sport who wanted a revamp of new superstars, and that was Quick-Step. Terpstra decided to change to the Belgian outfit, and in the first season he was 6th in Omloop, 14th in Idre. However, he was not selected for the Tour of Flanders or the Paris Roubaix teams. The following season in 2012, Terpstra seemed to be stronger than ever, clinching his first victory in a classics with the Dwars door Vlaanderen after a solo attack to the race with a comfortable 47-second margin down to Sylvain Chavanel. In the Tour of Flanders, he managed to finish 6th and followed that up a week later with a 5th place in Paris-Roubaix, really emphasizing his potential on the terrain for the team and the team management. Terpstra also managed to win his national road championships once again for a second time in his career, and later that year he capped the season off with a team time trial victory with Quick-Step at the World Championships before a podium at Paris Tours, but the seed for his potential was definitely sown. 2013 saw him once again start his season in the Middle East at the Tour of Qatar and the Tour of Oman before a disappointing Omloop. However, he was part of the team time trial victory for Quick-Step, this time at Treno Adriatico. Terpstra didn't show great form before the Tour of Flanders, and it was not a great addition from him. Nevertheless, Terpstra managed to bounce back from this, and a week later he managed to finish behind Fabian Cancellara and Sepp van Mark to clinch his first monument podium at Paris-Roubaix. The rest of the season, he had several top 10 finishes in several stages, including 5th place on stage 13 of the Tour de France, but the big highlight of that year was the podium. The 2014 season began with a bang as he won the opening stage of the Tour of Qatar and kept the jersey all the way to the end, winning his first stage race victory as a pro. Terpstra carried this good form into the classics, winning Dwars door Vlaanderen yet again before finishing 2nd second in Idre and 6th place in the Tour of Flanders. But the day that changed Terpstra's career forever was the 13th of April 2014, which was the day of the Hell of the North. In the closing moments of the race, an elite 11-man group was almost at stalemate before Terpstra had launched a perfect attack with 6 kilometers from the finish, and he managed to hold off the ensuing chase all the way and managed to lift his hands in the velodrome, and thereby the Dutch sensation had won Paris-Roubaix to his own disbelief. The remainder of the season was not as spectacular. He managed to finish second in the national road race behind Sebastian Langevel, and he still did not find that elusive stage win at the Tour de France. And sadly, his Quick-Step team also lost their dominance in the Team Time Trial World Championships. Moving on to the 2015 season, which began again with a strong performance from Terpstra at the Tour of Qatar, as he managed to win on stage 3, which incidentally was a time trial, and he held the overall lead all the way to the finish yet again, and thus managed to defend his title and winning it for the second time in his career. He definitely had very strong form, and he showed this a few days later at the Omloop Het Nieuwsblad, where Terpstra made the decisive breakaway of 4 riders with his teammates Boonen and Stijn Vandenberg, along with Ian Stannard. But this race, as we all know, ended in a bit of a comical fashion for Quick-Step and wasn't the greatest addition for them, as they showed just exactly how you can lose a race despite having their numerical advantage. But despite this, Terpstra still managed to finish second place and showed he had good legs. Terpstra continued this form at a very windy edition of Ghent-Wevelgem, as he won the sprint for second place after the winner Luca Paolini. And later at the Tour of Flanders, Terpstra managed to break away from the peloton, this time with Alexander Kristoff 30 kilometers from the finish, but Terpstra could not beat Kristoff in the sprint, and thereby unfortunately he finished in second place. Terpstra was not done for the season, as he won the Dutch National Road Race Championships once again in a bunch sprint, much to the confusion of the pure sprinters in the group. The following month, Terpstra went on to win the first stage of the Tour of Wallonia and kept that lead all the way to the final stage, clinching the overall, and this was also his first European stage race victory of his professional career. The following season, Terpstra managed to win La Sam in front of Scott Thwaites and Florian Seneschal of Cofidis, but other than that, the classic season was below par for Terpstra, as he also crashed out of Paris-Roubaix. Despite this, Terpstra did manage to win the Dwars Tour Hageland, and after the Vuelta a España, Terpstra went on to win the overall at the Eneco Tour after a dramatic rain-swept final stage caused the race leader Rowan Dennis to crash out. And this final stage of the Eneco Tour is the brutal Gradisberg stage. Terpstra started the stage in 5th place, but managed to be part of a front group of 3 riders and ultimately finished second behind the stage winner of Edvald Boasson-Hagen, and that meant that Terpstra became the overall leader and took the win of effectively his home tour. Later at the World Championships in Qatar, Terpstra managed to help Quick-Step regain the World Team Time Trial Championships, and Terpstra added a 9th place in the road race to this as well. 2017 was another strong year after a quiet beginning to the season in Spain and Italy, before he managed to finish 4th in Ghent-Wevelgem before a strong showing in the Tour of Flanders, which resulted in a 3rd place after the strange altercation of Peter Sagan's crash with a fan. And in addition to this, he was joined on the podium with his teammate Philippe Gilbert, who was up the road and took the victory. In that year's Paris-Roubaix, Terpstra suffered a very unusual crash, and later on it was discovered that this was due to a component failure of his bike, and the bike sponsor Specialized accepted the blame for this incident later. Now moving on to the 2018 season, which was arguably the best. He began the year in the Middle East yet again, and the first glory was not there, but when he came back to Europe, he managed to win La Sam once again before he went on to win E3 Hallbecker by attacking on the Tynberg with his teammate Yves Lampard with more than 70 kilometers to go, and by the finish he had a 20-second gap to the chasing group that was led home by his other teammate Philippe Gilbert. Terpstra made sure that he carried this incredible form into the Tour of Flanders, and this is where we saw vintage Terpstra. He launched a counterattack to follow that earlier attack by Vincenzo Nibali over the Kuersberg climb, and the imperious Terpstra soon managed to catch up to Nibali and drop him, and then he went on to quickly dispatch a trio of riders as well from the earlier move on the final climb of the Order Quatermont. Terpstra managed to solo the final 25 kilometers to the finish, and he finished 12 seconds ahead of the young Mads Pedersen, who had been part of the early days breakaway. And yet again, he was joined by his teammate Philippe Gilbert on the podium, who finished in third. Not only was it his second monument victory, but it also ended the drought of no Dutch winners of the race, which they had to wait for since 1986, when Adrie van der Poel managed to take the victory. And of course, we know the other Dutch rider who won after Terpstra as well. The next objective for Terpstra was Paris Roubaix, but unfortunately he didn't make the race-winning move with Peter Sagan. However, he did manage to claim third place, leading home a group 57 seconds behind Peter Sagan and Sylvain Dillier. For the 2019 season, Terpstra decided to leave Quick-Step for the French pro-continental team, Team Direct Energy, which was a questionable move, and as we've seen, many riders who have moved away from Quick-Step have suffered as a consequence. Terpstra had a strong start to the season, however, at his new team, and managed to finish third in both Kuurne-Brussels-Kuurne and Les Sam. But the season didn't go well, as the 34-year-old was caught in a collision 157 kilometers from the line in the Tour of Flanders. He looked to be in a bad way on the floor after the low-speed collision, but medical staff did treat him, and this was a very bad point for his career. Terpstra's bad luck with the team continued the following season, where he crashed in the Netherlands while motor pacing in training and was forced to avoid hitting a pack of geese at high speed, and instead went on to hit a rock and falling to the ground. He was initially ruled out for 3 months, but he returned later in the year. His final 2 seasons did not produce anything in the same heights of his 2018 season, and it may have been because of the crashes and resulting injuries before he eventually retired at the end of 2022. And that drew the curtain on a very remarkable career. So what the happened to Niki Terpstra? A monuments winner who managed to gain both the cobbled monuments in an era of Fabien Cancellara, Tom Boonen and Peter Sagan, along with a host of other smaller one-day races as well. He really was a sensational specialist in that field. Anyway, that's it for this video of Niki Terpstra. Make sure to comment down below what you thought of this great rider's career. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and of course, as always, thank you very much for watching and have a nice day.